Go. Make sure I unmute myself. No more rookie mistakes. Make sure we're live everywhere. Make sure the Florida Wi-Fi's are working. Oh, I guess you're on cellular at this point. Let's see. Looks like the YouTubes are on. Looks like the face bag is on. And there we go. And okay. You ready, Justin?
Yeah, man.
Let's say hello. Hey, this is Shaun with the GoTennis podcast, powered by Signature Tennis. Check out our calendar of Metro Atlanta tennis events at letsgotennis.com. And today is 10 minutes of tennis with world-renowned tennis coach, Australian in Puerto Rico, who I believe might be in Naples or somewhere. You never know, people. You never really know where Justin is. But right now, we are continuing our mental health conversation. And this one is, as we watch, this question is, as we watch the mental health struggles of these superheroes, of these athletes that are out there performing and running their businesses, which is a thing we forget sometimes, they really struggle to keep up. Sometimes we forget these are 19-year-olds that are top 10 in the world trying to figure out just how to run a business. But Justin, my question is, can we, the social player, I guess you and I are considered industry coach types, but can the social player, the weekend player, the league player, what do we get from this?
Yeah, I think with this question, I thought I would just write down a whole bunch of things that could help people understand, I guess the word is fundamentals of the things that the professionals are going through that you could use, because at the end of the day, we're all playing tennis. So whether they're playing 3-0 or 4-5 or 5-0, they're still playing another player up the other end that goes through the same level of challenges at the same game. So I always try to make people realize we're all playing at a certain level, but we all go through the same mental states. The difference between, obviously, the professionals to what we do is we still leave the court and go back to work and go do what we got to do. That is their job. So some of them, too, what we've got to understand, have been sacrificing a lot of things since the age of 4 or 5, and have only known one thing, and that's hitting fairy tennis balls to make a career out of it. So they've got a lot of invested interest and a lot of other people behind them than the regular Joe. But that doesn't take away from the regular Joe who still practices a lot, still wants to keep improving 3-5 to 4-0, 4-0 to 4-5. So I'm going to give you quick ones, and I'm going to run through them real fast. Understanding attention span. If you want to learn a little bit more about it, you can go on Google. There's a ton of stuff you can learn on it. I'm going to give you 3 main ones: intensity, size, and movement. Okay, intensity is basically meaning what's the intensity of my attention span? Like how high am I? How pumped am I? How focused am I? Size is the length of time I've been keeping my attention span, because we go in waves and we try to learn how we can increase the size. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Movement. Our attention span relies on physical movement. So you see the players jump up and down, and some players are really flat and slow. But we can really tell how we can help our attention span by 3 main things like that. So that's I think for a lot of people, they don't understand attention span, and then by not understanding the core of where the mental focus is, it's really hard, because you're looking for all these elements without actually understanding really what attention span is all about. Mind drifting and how to manage it. So basically trying to come up with tricks to identify, one, you're drifting, meaning you're thinking about the bikini girl walking across the back of the court versus focusing on the next point. Bikini girl is just a little exaggerated, but at the end of the day, everyone knows what I'm talking about. Their mind comes off the court versus being on the court. Internal versus external. You've all heard me talk about this a ton. When you walk off the baseline, you're thinking that forehand sucked, I suck, what's wrong with me today, blah, blah, blah. That's internal. External is looking back onto the court and saying, this is the tactic I'm going to do. This is the game plan my coach came up with, or this is what I thought about at the change of ends on how to beat my person tactically. And that's how to think externally, which makes you go more into, I would say, good momentum, good focus versus internal focus.
And that makes me think of identifying with a player. So we watch these players on television, the men, the women, the mixed doubles. We watch it all, and we may look at that one player and say, "Oh, that guy reminds me of me," or kind of I picture myself like them. And then I picture a Rublev type who's always fighting with himself. And everybody knows a friend that might have that same kind of internal struggle all the time, because it isn't necessarily that's an outward representation of the internal struggle. And those are the kind of things we can see and go, "Oh man, do I look like that on court?" I don't know that that's a good example for my wife and kids, right?
Yeah. I mean, we can go back of we call it GOAT is Federer. I mean, Federer at the start was smashing rackets and was carrying on, and he learned to find the silent part that we all adored and that we all appreciated and we all looked up to and admired. But at the start, man, late junior years and even his early professional years, he had a real demon, and he learned to quiet that demon down. But demons can be raised a lot mentally and emotionally from other things that I've written down here, which is physical conditioning. If you're not as good as in shape, or you're not as fit as you need to beat the other guy fitter, as your physical condition comes down, your emotion comes up higher, which changes your mental state as well. So be aware of your physical conditioning. That's really important. Change events, drinking water, having a snack, change time between points. If you rush from one point to the next point, you haven't given yourself a chance to reduce the heart rate, improve the breathing. Sleep and recovery. You haven't slept well, you haven't done a few good sleep nights. That's going to be a big one. That's going to change your mental state when you go to play. So negative to positive thoughts. I've had to do this many a times in player development, which you could do it in adult stuff as well. And that is, what's the same bad words that keep coming up, and find what positive, change those words so that when they come up, you've written down what can be changed and what affirmation will fix that negative.
I like that a lot, because it makes me think of the mental health benefits of tennis. Now, it isn't just of tennis by virtue, but it's of the fact that I want to be a good tennis player, and therefore I'm going to do these things which are going to help me be a better tennis player. And all of those things are good for my longevity. They're good for my health. They're good for my mental health. If I really want to be a great, I don't know what, poker player, maybe we don't get the same health benefits from that, from preparing for something else, I guess, is what I'm trying to come up with. Because in this case, you're describing good, healthy habits that are a result of preparing for my hobby. And that's really a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Even to the things like I'm in Naples right now, right? 95% of the population here can't drive very fast, haven't got very good attention span, and they're all over the place. So what do I have to do? Hey, it's going to take me 30 seconds to another 2 or 3 minutes to get somewhere. That's it. Right? Can I sacrifice 2-3 minutes? Yes. So why would I create stress the whole time on the road? Same thing when you're on the court. Why rush? Why keep pushing? Why try to... A lot of people, a lot of juniors try to rush things to go through the pain when actually they need to reflect and go through it and be at the other end. And
I am Roger Federer. I am Roger Federer. I am Roger Federer.
Yeah. And Rublev is a good example because he is very high intensity. Yeah. We don't know his background, don't know how he was raised, don't know all that stuff. But he obviously has a lot underneath, and he's going to learn to have to channel it and keep channeling and keep channeling it. That's half the reason why sometimes people get injured as well, because they keep pushing, and the mind can control and push the body. But then if we push it too far, something breaks.
We forget to listen.
Yeah, mentally is a big thing. And so trying to go back to what you're saying, what the average player or what the amateur player can learn, there's things like adrenaline. Watch your pump-ups, because if your adrenaline goes too high, the first thing your body is going to do is shut down. The heart rate comes down. The mind says straight away, whoa, I'm up really high, so now I've got to bring it all down. So you might win one big point, come out like Vamos, like Nadal, and then the next 2 points you lose, and you're like, what happened to my momentum?
I got nothing
Because
left.
my adrenaline was so high that my mind said, hey, bring everything down to catch up. You know, I have tons of other tips, momentum swings. Watch them, manage them, figure out what they do, what they don't do. And what I mean by that is journalize after a match. What worked and what don't work. Journalize. And what you do is once you start reading back, you'll start to realize where the patterns are of what you do to manage momentum or what you do to feel positive to get a win. You know, and if you keep writing them down, even if you start writing down all your failures, because all the negatives, you'll start to understand patterns and how to change those. So I would say journalize is really important to understand every single match adds up. There are patterns in it. I can be the Tony Robbins right now. There's patterns in everything.
Yeah,
right?
and I was going to say, it sounds like we can go on forever. Maybe we'll do 10 more minutes next week on this same thing. But in this case, it really sounds like I am running a little business, the business of my hobby in this case.
Yep.
Because if
Yep.
I'm going to write down the notes from my meeting notes and what happened and what didn't happen because I want to improve, all of it just sounds like I'm getting really good at my hobby. And the benefit here is the mental health benefits of the actions that we take to improve and be better at what we do. Justin, we're out of time. We will come back to it if we need to. I appreciate it. This has been 10 Minutes of Tennis with Justin Yeo. Thank you, sir. We'll see you next week.
Take care, guys.